Alright guys, so today we're going to be working on an iPhone 8 Plus, and this one is cracked at the top. The cracks go all the way through. The phone still functions, the screen still functions just fine. It's just really starting to bother her, and eventually over time it's just going to get worse, especially if she drops it or anything. It'll get to the point where she just can't use it. A few of the tools we're going to use is a Sesamo tool, which is a pry tool, a Y screwdriver, a set of anti-static tweezers, dull ones if you can, a Phillips screwdriver, and then a pentalobe screwdriver. That's a wow stick, but that right there is a pentalobe screwdriver, and that's all you're going to need. I'll leave a link in the description for all the tools. If you want to use a wow stick, you can. It makes life a lot easier, but you don't have to. So the first thing you're going to want to do is there's going to be two screws at the bottom. These are pentalobe screws. These will only be taken out by a pentalobe screwdriver. So you want to make sure you have the right tool. If you try to take this out with something else and you end up stripping those screws, they're terrible and hard to get out. So make sure you use the right screwdriver. Once you remove those two screws, we're going to lay the phone down, and we're just going to take the new screen and we're going to lay it up on the old screen, and we're basically just looking at the cable connections. You want to kind of see where these cables are, where the important parts are, where we're going to be careful when we're trying to remove the old screen from the frame. And as you can tell, it's on the bottom right, kind of close to the middle. So we're going to start at the bottom of this phone, and we're going to start prying on the opposite side. So that was on the right, so we're going to start prying on the left side all the way to the top. And just from the tell of the way these cables are, this is going to open like a book from left to right, and you're just going to want to pry up on it, up towards the screen, not down inside the phone. And once you do that, you open it up like a book from left to right, and we're going to grab our Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to remove these 4 screws. And when you take these screws out, make sure that you're laying them down exactly the same way that they're put in. And I'll kind of show you what I mean when I remove this little shield right here. But I'm laying these screws down exactly how I took them out, because they're not all the same sizes, and you can cause damage when putting them back. If you put a long screw in a short screw hole, it's just called long screw damage, but it can cause a lot of damage. Next, you want to disconnect the battery. We're going to disconnect the LCD and the digitizer. Always important to disconnect the battery first. You don't want any power going through the phone. Next, we're going to take our Y screwdriver. I know you get jumped from Y to Phillips a lot. They don't want you fixing these phones. They would rather you send them into insurance where it all works together and they make money. Once you take out that, you're just going to pry on that cable with your fingers, and it comes right up. Don't pull too hard. Just take your time. We're going to take our Y screwdriver again, and down here at the bottom on the home button, there's going to be 4 screws, and we're going to remove that shield. They're Y screwdrivers. Then you're going to take some dull tweezers. I don't know if you can tell, but my tweezers are pretty dull and bent. And you're going to pop open that little clip right there, just like a book. And once you do that, you're going to kind of move it out to the side, and you're going to get behind this cable that is your home button, essentially. And be very careful. This is probably the most important part of this whole repair, is you want something dull. These tweezers are very dull. You want like a little pry tool to pull up on it. And once you do that, it's got a little piece of adhesive. You can even take a heat gun or a hair dryer and heat that up a little bit just to make it a little easier to pull off. But be very, very careful with that home button. You don't want to bend that cable, cut that cable in any shape or form. Once you do that, we're going to jump up here to the top of the screen. That's got 5 screws. As you can tell, mine only has 4, but the 5th screw is on top of that speaker right there. It looks like it just came loose and it's just hanging out. But this shield is holding down these cables just so nothing moves around in the phone when you drop it or anything. Now we remove the speaker, and this is just a big cable up here at the top that's held down by some adhesive. Like I said, you can use a heat gun to heat it up, make it easier, but there's these little bitty pre-cut holes. And when you get really close to the screen, you'll be able to tell they're just little pre-cut holes, and we're trying to get under this cable. And when you get under this cable, you'll see me in a second. I'm getting under that cable right now. Like I said, these are very dull tweezers. Once I'm under that cable, this thing should pull out as a whole unit. Don't try to pull an individual cable or anything. Try to grab it all in one and pull it up as a unit, and it makes it 10 times easier and safer. You don't hardly ever damage anything that way. I'm just making sure there's nothing missing from screen to screen. Certain screens, I'll leave a link in the description so you have this one exactly. Certain screens will be missing certain parts, or they won't come with certain shields and stuff. So this one makes it easier. I'll leave a link in the description like I said. And now you're just basically working in reverse order. So we're going to lay down the front camera. Once again, it's got those little holes in it. If you line up those holes, and once you get the cable in front of you, you'll be able to tell what I mean by the little holes. Everything just kind of lines up in its place. The same thing with the speaker. It's got 4 little copper connectors at the bottom. They don't connect, they just touch. And you'll be able to see when you lay them on there, those copper connections just basically lay on top of each other. And once you put the little camera down, you'll see that everything just fits in its own place. And then especially when you put this shield on, you'll know that if it's in there right. If not, it's going to be off a little bit or cockeyed. Once again, we're going to make sure that these screws are laid out exactly the way you put them in, because some of these screws are longer than others and they will cause long screw damage. And this one up here is very important, because if you put the wrong screw in the wrong hole, it can go through the front of the screen and it's going to crack it pretty easy. So it's very important to make sure you lay the screws out exactly how you took them out. We're going to jump down here to the bottom of the phone. You're going to put the home button in from the front through the hole, and you're going to lay this down. And there's adhesive on it from when you pulled up earlier. So when you lay this down, you've got to lay it down exactly. If you don't lay it down exactly, you're going to have to do what I did, and you're going to have to get some tweezers and lift it back up. And then you're going to have to adjust it. And there's a little pre-cut hole in this one as well. And if you line it up on a little guide, it makes life a lot easier. But I lined it up finally. And then this should just close like a book, and you're going to hear it connect just like a Lego. It's a very distinct connection, and once it connects, you'll know that it's connected. It's just got like a Lego noise to it. Can't really explain it, but once it's connected, you know it's connected. Now you're going to put the shield down here at the home button, and you got 4 screws. Now these screws are all the same size, all the same length, so if you do happen to mix these screws around, it's okay. It's just good to put that habit in place of putting the right screws in the right place so it doesn't happen. They also have these little magnetic boards you can lay these screws on, and you lay them out the way you put them in. It makes it easier too. So I don't have one, so that's how I do it. And this screw was missing, and it was just in the phone, just laying down. So if you have a screw that's missing or anything, make sure look inside the phone. Now that all that's down, we're going to go ahead and get the frame of the phone, and we're going to start connecting these. It doesn't matter which side you start out with first. I always start up here with the front camera, the proximity sensor. I always start up here with that one. And I'm just using my fingers. If you want to use tweezers or pry tool or anything like that, you're more than welcome to. Whatever feels more comfortable for you. You're really not going to damage anything, but with tweezers, be careful, because if you're pushing down and you accidentally slip or something, you could, cut through something that might be important. So I always just use my fingers. I feel like I have no understand like how much pressure I'm really putting on it or not. And once again, this takes me just a second, because you'll be able to tell when you push these down the way they connect. It's just like a little connection, and it's very distinct. You're going to know exactly how it feels and the way it sounds when you do it. And once you connect it, you'll know it's down. Once you do that, you're going to connect your battery back as well. Same thing, it just sounds like a little Lego. And then once you do that, if you want to, you can lay the front of the screen down and you can try to power it on. You can charge it, whatever you need to do to make sure that the screen is functioning properly. And that's kind of always a good thing to do. That way you don't put, right now, like what I'm about to do, I'm about to put this shield back on and these screws. I'm going to put these back on, and if say something was wrong, I would have caught it right here. But I don't. I'm just very confident that this phone is going to work. So I'm putting these screws back in there, and once again, I'm lining them up the same way that I took them out. Just like this last shield that I got to put on, I have these 4 screws. I laid them out the way that I pulled them, and makes it a lot easier because none of these screws are the same size. But I'm going to put these 4 screws back in, and this is with Phillips. The other one was with a Y screwdriver, and like I said, they just do that because they don't want you to fix the phone. So we're going to put these 4 screws in. You're just about done with the phone. We're going to go ahead and lay this screen down, and when you lay this screen down, you're going to start at the top. And now that those are all down, like I said, you're just going to close it up, and you're going to want to push from the very, very top of the phone. Right now I'm just making sure that it comes on the screen's good, which it is. So now we're going to start closing the phone down, and up here where my left hand is, we're going to push from the bottom of the phone and make sure that it sits in there. And then from there, you're just going to go around the sides and push down very gently. Don't push too hard. If something's not going down, maybe something's in the way, a piece of glass, a loose screw, and if you push too hard, you can damage the screen that you just put on. So be careful, go slow, take your time. Last 2 screws are your pentalobe screws. Like I said, I'm using a wow stick. I love this thing, makes life a lot easier. But essentially, it's just a pentalobe screwdriver. And these are your last 2 screws, and then this phone is dead, so we're going to charge it. But if you guys have any questions, concerns, something that you do different, something that you don't like, something you like, please let me know. I'm just here to help you fix your stuff, hopefully do it at an affordable price, and I'll send you links to everything. But this will definitely save you money. It's easy to do. Anybody can do it. And if you have any questions, like I said, shoot me a message. I'm here to help you out. Thanks for watching.